welcome to another edition of the 24th Floor. I'm Ruben Diaz. We're rounding out August with so many of what we all enjoy, so many games, what we all enjoy. It's football season, obviously, the most wonderful time of the year. We got a couple of guests we got to get to here in a second, but first, before we do that, you know how we start every show. Let's toss over to Richard Denson for today's Big Idea.
That's right, Ruben. It's almost that time. We are a couple of sleeps away from the true start to college football. It's week one. Let's roll that big idea. Let's start right here in the 901. How about them Tigers coming off one of its best seasons in recent memories where they finished 11-2 and won their bowl game? The Tigers are back at it, looking to replicate that when they start their voyage this Saturday against the FCS's Chattanooga Mocs. All eyes will be on the new QB1, Brandon Lewis, the six-year transfer from Nevada and Colorado. He's got the keys to the Tigers offense, and with him being a dual threat, he looks to bring a new dynamic.
Every single one of those guys in the receiver room, we've all put in a lot of work together. We've been getting tons and tons of reps together, so I feel like our chemistry has just skyrocketed since when I first got here. It's made me a lot more confident in not only myself, but in them too, and I feel like it's made them more confident in themselves and in me as well, as our chemistry just keeps getting higher and higher as the season will go on. I feel pretty comfortable right now, though.
All right, you heard it from the man himself. Feels real comfortable right now. Now joining us on the program, a man who knows all about the Tigers, knows them inside and out. He'll be there this Saturday. He's the Memphis football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal and a frequent friend of the program. Jonah Dillon, welcome to the show, young man, I should say.
Mr. Jonah.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Jonah, let's get started. What are you expecting? It's a new era, so to speak, when it comes to QB1 for the Memphis Tigers. What are you expecting to see?
Yeah, definitely a different sort of offense, or at least some wrinkles from what we saw in the past 4 years with Seth Hennigan, because like you guys mentioned, Brandon Lewis is a dual threat quarterback. He can run the ball a lot, and I think we're going to see that. I think in terms of the whole offense, we're going to see a lot of different stuff. We're going to see side-to-side movement. The word we've heard from pretty much every coach throughout the offseason is speed. And so I think we're going to see that at receiver. We're going to see that definitely at running back. And we're going to see that at the quarterback. So I think it'll be exciting to watch, especially in the first time on Saturday.
Jonah, from what you've seen in training camp, do you think the Tigers offense will lean more run-heavy with all the different running backs they have? Or do you think they'll really let Lewis go and just kind of test him and let him air it out?
I think they'd like to run the ball a lot. Obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on the offensive line. How effective can they be? But they feel good about that. I think with the running backs, you look at Sutton Smith and Greg Duoze and that kind of tandem, they both have the ability to do a lot of different things. So I think, yes, we're going to see them get the ball a lot, but it might be passes out of the backfield. It might be lining them up at receiver. It might be side-to-side stuff. So I think the running backs are going to be a big part of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean run the ball up the middle. You know, it means a lot of different things with what they can do in the offense.
Yeah, so you've been able to see Brandon Lewis up close and personal. You've watched him, you covered Seth Hennigan. What do you see as, other than being dual threat, do you see him as a guy that's ready to take the reins and kind of move forward with this team?
Yeah, he's somebody who's obviously, the experience is the thing that you hear other than the dual threat ability. I think experience is the main word. With him, 35 starts in college football across his time at Colorado and Nevada. Obviously, it's a cliche, but you can't teach that, right? He's actually older than Seth Hennigan. He graduated high school a year before him, which is crazy to think about because it feels like Seth Hennigan was at Memphis for forever. But I think that's a big part of it is the experience. The question is, how is he going to do on a team that has high expectations? Because he has not been on a winning team in his entire career across those two schools. Now he's at a place and he's the quarterback at a place that thinks they can win double-digit games as they have the past couple of years. And so that leadership and that ability, I think those are the things that I'm thinking about as they go in the season, especially as they get further in. And the expectation is, to win pretty much every game.
Yep.
So I think a lot has been put on the Tigers offense, and justifiably so, with Brandon Lewis at QB. But what do you expect out of the defense? I know they got some big guys coming back this year that are going to be big-time players.
Yeah, a lot of new faces too. I mean, I think that's the story on both sides of the ball. Really one full-time returning starter on both sides of the ball. William Whitlow on defense is a big-time returner because he was a first-team all-conference guy last year on the defensive line, went in the portal and then decided to get out of the portal and come back to Memphis. And that's obviously a huge guy to have returning. I think the linebacker core is something I'm looking forward to seeing. Entirely new. Everybody from last year is gone, or at least 3 starters. But if you look at the caliber of player they're bringing in at linebacker, really, really productive guys at other schools. Everett Rousseau, Drew Watts, Cam Burden, a couple of the names, and then obviously Sam Brumfield, who comes from Virginia Tech. All these guys, you look at their stats from last year, they've proven it at a certain level, and it's kind of different. On offense, we're looking at guys and thinking, okay, they haven't really proven it, but we know they have that ability. On defense, they have proven it, and the question is, how's it all going to work together? What's the chemistry going to be like across kind of that defense? But there's a lot to like, and if you want to look for positive signs, I think on defense there's a lot.
Coaches will always tell you the defense always looks great early on, right? Because, they chase the ball, whereas the offense has to build chemistry. Is there a lot of excitement then around with Coach Silverfield about what this defense can do as far as setting the tone early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this, defense for Memphis, if you go back the past couple of years, even back to when Mike Norvell was here, I mean, obviously it's an understatement to say there was room for improvement if they wanted to get it. They did that last year. They improved from a defense that had a lot that it could have done better, but there's still a lot that can be better, especially in the secondary. I mean, again, looking at almost an entirely new group of players, but there's room for improvement in terms of how they played in some of those big games last year. And off the bat, even you go back last season, this defense was humming the first couple of weeks of the season with the different things they were doing under Jordan Hankins as defensive coordinator. Now he's got a year under his belt with this system, and he's got a better idea of how to kind of handle week-to-week stuff. And so I think the first couple of weeks of the season, we're definitely going to see a lot of positive signs from this defense.
We talk about excitement and anticipation. For Silverfield and crew, they're trying to build off last season, which, as we said, was one of the best seasons, if not the best season in regular season-wise in Tigers football history. Do you think building off of that, they're trying to reassert themselves as a contender, especially after those flirtations with the Big 12?
Yeah, I think they definitely want to do that. And I think, look, you look at where this program is and how they've played the past couple of years. This is a team that probably should be in the conversation, at least for the conference title every single year. And realistically, that means probably the college football playoff, or at least you have a shout kind of with, depending on how things go in with Boise State and the Mountain West and those other conferences. And so I think it's fair to expect them and to look at the schedule and say, every game you can sit there and say, this is a winnable game. Even the Arkansas game, that's a winnable game, especially at home. Now, some of these teams in the conference are pretty good and they've improved, Navy, South Florida, Tulane, all going to come play at Memphis this year. And those are tough games. They're not walkovers. But the Tigers can easily win all those games. They have the ability to do that, and they have the ability to win this conference. And so I think it makes it an exciting season, even though there are so many unknowns.
Now, winning obviously is important. You're trying to move conferences and make moves, and there's more money in the bigger conferences. There's more bigger TV deals. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it when you're trying to make that move, right? So what are some of the other hurdles that Memphis has to battle to be able to make a conference jump?
Yeah, timing is a big one, right? I mean, we look at all these things with conference realignment, and it kind of depends on, was there a big move that set off a chain reaction of other moves? Like, you look at so much of what happened over the past couple of years, Texas and Oklahoma leaving for the SEC is what set off a ton of conference realignment moves, including the moves that, all those teams that left the American, UCF and Cincinnati and Houston. That was because of that. You're looking to backfill after other big moves in the past. And so I think for Memphis, you got to be in the right place at the right time. And this was not the right time. I think they feel like they've improved a lot of stuff. You look at the stadium renovation, you look at the quality of their football team, look at the academics. Those were the things that in the past, everybody said that's the reason why Memphis can't get into a better conference. They've improved those things, but again, you've got to figure out the right situation. You need a conference that wants to expand. And so the Big 12 stuff, obviously, they weren't actively looking for it at the time, and I think that hurt Memphis.
I'm glad you brought up the stadium renovations, Jonah, because I live by the Tiger Stadium, and I'm always thinking, how is the ongoing renovation and construction, how does that affect the game day environment? Now that they are further along and it looks like we're getting closer to when it's supposed to be done, still, now that we start another season with that in the background, do you think that kind of plays a factor into how the game day environment will be on Saturdays compared to other schools?
It might for this year. I mean, I think in the future, they think that, once the renovations are complete, you're looking at a different sort of experience, like you said. And that is important for everybody, because one of the things that people have talked about with stadiums and how it relates to conference realignment is, visiting fans and stuff, showing up to a game and being like, really, this is the stadium this team plays in. Now, there's a lot of obviously historic college football venues that maybe aren't the nicest places to visit. but I think that's how you show off your stadium. That's how you show off your program and your team and all those things. When we talk about conference realignment, so much of it is perception. And so that is why it can be very important and might be very important going forward. That's the thing we've talked about in the past, the reason why Memphis wasn't attractive to some of these conferences. And that was one of the, that was a huge reason of why they weren't. And so potentially a thing that could change things moving forward.
Jonah, you are the man. We appreciate all of that insight and all of that knowledge. We know you're going to be on the sideline Saturday, or maybe up in the box, staying out of so you don't get hit. But we will check back in with you next week and get another Tigers update as we continue to follow the Tigers throughout the rest of the season. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thanks for having me.